The Mayor Commission regular meeting for May 27th, 2025 to order. First order of business here is the approval of the minutes. I think we were all sent. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes for March 25th and April 22nd, 2025?
I'll make that motion.
And I'll second.
All right. Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion about the minutes?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion's successful. We're rolling right along. Old business, the adoption of the rules and procedures. Can I get a motion to adopt the City of Bloomington Fire Merit Commission rules and procedures?
So moved.
Second.
All right, have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion about the
Yeah, I
rules and
have a few
procedures?
things to
Go through as I read through
Yeah.
in detail.
Sure.
Thank you for sending ahead of time.
Well, there was enough there to read that I really was glad I was able to get it to you all with enough days to spend with it.
Some of this stuff, it's probably just me trying to figure out what I need to know here. Trying to figure out the lay of the land, and you guys probably already know a lot of these answers, but let's see. In the first section, under the qualifications section, I noticed that provision for those who are honorably discharged and served at least 20 years of military service could be 40 years and 6 months. I just wondered how we came up with that extra 6 months.
So it used to be, our cutoff was 36 years of age.
Yeah.
So how they come up with 40 years and 6 months, I guess I'm not sure, but there was a significant difference between our maximum hiring age and a military retirement.
Yeah.
Now that our maximum age has been moved to 40, it makes that 6 months a lot more insignificant than what it used to be. But it's always been 40 and a half years.
What I was thinking was, if you kind of do the math here, you take a young man or woman who's graduated from high school, they would likely enlist at age 19. If they served a full 20 years, which would give them a full career in the military and then eligibility for their pension, they would be 39 years of age. And this adequately covers them, assuming that they'd have enough time. Maybe try to work my way through this. So 39 years old, you'd have a year and a half. If you retired right at 20 years. And so does that include the amount of time? Do you have to actually be sworn in at 40 and a half years, or can that be when you apply?
No, you have to be hired on by that deadline. The date of hire has to be before they're 40 and a half years old.
Okay.
And that date wasn't set internally. That's straight from the state statute.
That's a
Yeah.
statute that the state of Indiana passed.
Okay, so we can't do anything about that.
No.
So
One of
then,
those few times where, we've made age
yeah, well, it makes sense.
it turns out at some point you just have to, you're just old enough that you shouldn't start a career in the fire department.
Oh, sure, I get
Right?
that. I'm just trying to think logistically
Whether they've got time to get done with everything in the military.
whether they do. And since
Yeah.
it's state mandated, there's nothing we can do about that. But the trick for us then is making sure that if we're recruiting somebody, or if someone's come to us at 18 years of service in the military and say, I'd like to really consider the fire service, we need to be on them and say, okay, that's all good. We think you'd be a good candidate or whatever, but we're going to have to be straight with them and say, you got to get this in. You got to get in the process now, because it's going to take, from the time you leave, you've only got a year and a half. If you wait till full retirement, because a lot of times these guys, if they retire at 20 years, their actual retirement date's gonna be, 2 or 3 months later because of built-up leave time and things like that. So I don't know how we recruit from the military. If we have any kind of things like that that we look at, it'd be a good thing if we did. To look for good candidates, I think. But we just need to make sure that they know we've got these time limits.
It is in the application that if you are, you will be this, and it is understood. It's like question 1, you will be, it must be between these ages at the time of hire. And so that is, we track the birth dates very closely. One, to make sure they are of age. Now that we have the 21 that we must do, they must be 21 by the age of hire, even though PERF allows the 18-year-olds, Merit Board does not, so we have to check birthday, so they must be 21 by the date of hire, not to be on the list, but date of hire, and then they can be on the list until they get 40 and a half, and then, yeah, I'm sorry, but yes, but we do have several veterans on our list as it stands right now, not with 20 years, but they are serving right now, but getting done with their contracts and whatever, but a lot of them have their job site has been governmentjobs.com. So we've had, and we get a lot of questions. We did have one candidate withdraw because he was on deployment for the entire month of April out of country. So he had to decline this time. So because we cannot accommodate a online exam for that. But
Essentially, they'd likely need to be a top candidate to make the timeline. So if they apply within that year and a half and they do well and they're in the X top, whatever candidates, they will probably make the timeline and they'll get hired.
Yeah.
If they were in the bottom of the candidate list, odds are against them getting called in time.
Sure, absolutely. That makes sense. And the good part is, let's say you're a Navy medic or an Army medic. You probably know that military occupational specialty transfers. You're an EMT by state law. You can get certified pretty easy. Transferring that over, and that gives us, that gives a candidate a 1-up.
And the experience that comes with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, there was that one. And then let's go to section D on the aptitude test. I noticed it said 70% or greater and 35% of the overall hiring process score. That's a great criteria. My question is, the written exam, it's from a third-party vendor, but there could be differences if it's a third-party. Is the test different from different vendors?
yes,
Okay. So I guess the thing to be mindful there would be, if the test is different, should the standards be different? Or is this one of those state ones too?
Generally, I'll say that 70% is passing as far as all state certifications exams, and they set the passing score at 70%, and so that's a general practice, is 70%. So we have gone with a firefighter aptitude test. So.
Essentially, they have the criteria they've set for passing comes with an element of liability protection because they vetted it and gone through their own HR-related nature to set up the questions. We can deviate from it, but then we lose that liability protection that comes with it. So they've done their due diligence. That's why we pick a specific third party to do it, is they've done their due diligence.
That becomes the thing I think should be some clarification, is the candidates who would like to be considered for hire with this department have only one third-party vendor to go to because we are contracted with them, correct?
Right.
So they're all using the same third-party vendor. It's not like they can go out and choose one.
Right.
So
Yeah, they choose our test, and so there is an optional study guide for which we do not provide, but the link and the information is provided to those who ask, or reach out to someone. Hey, is there one? Which we encourage people to reach out to HR, to the hiring managers and whatnot, for that.
So then we have, as you pick a vendor, you can you can kind of pick a vendor somewhat related to the rigor of the test.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Great.
this one does corrections, it does police, it does a variety of public safety, promotional and general placement, aptitude, hiring exams.
And then my next question there is in section E under the agility test, the CPAT is a pass-fail, and that's, let's see, is that administered by third party as well?
Yes.
So then the same kind of thing is true there. Is there uniform standards for physical fitness, or does it differ by vendors?
It is a national recognized exam, the candidate physical aptitude test, and they have to be vetted by the entity, whether, it's the IAFF, the union. They have to be vetted, and they have to, it's a few years process to get this certification that allows them to be in a certified official state site for that. So Indiana has several, but they are all throughout the U.S. So it is a very common.
So is it is there a state list that we pick from, or do we pick any vendor?
They just need the card. We have had people from Florida, Illinois, from the Illinois State Fire Academy, Colorado, Texas. It's a nationally recognized standard. Yes.
The testing should be the same. The site location may just be different.
Yeah. So
Does that make sense? I'm sorry, I did not.
Standard's all the same.
Yes.
Nationally.
Yes.
That's great because I've just seen other departments years ago that made up their own.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
sometimes that doesn't work so well.
Right.
Okay. In section G, or just,
All 4 points?
yeah. Let's see, my note says any department or just Bloomington.
It's any department by statute.
Any department?
Yeah, whether you are a firefighter, whether your mother or father was a firefighter or a police officer. Of any
That was
department.
exactly my
Yeah.
question. Was that limited to Bloomington, or was
No.
it, should we amend that a bit to say any department? Because it's firefighter or police officer. I guess that means any department, but that would be my question, or whether it's just Bloomington or whether it's just Monroe County or.
So you think a clarification would, of any, applicants whose mother or father was a firefighter or police officer of any department in the United States? How do we?
Yeah,
What does the state say?
I'll say as defined in IC 510.10.2. What does that state there? Because it could.
I don't know. I'd have to look at the statute. No, that's in the line of duty
Mhm.
as defined.
Oh.
Yeah.
The line of
that-
duty, not
the
necessarily
thing being-
the
Yeah, that
defining
510.10.2 is talking about line of duty,
Okay.
not firefighter or police officer. It's gotta
'Cause-
be, there's a definition for whether you died in the line of duty.
Yeah, so I guess we could leave it just the way it is, but applicants whose mother or father were a firefighter or police officer of any department who died in the line, maybe that kind of thing? Does everybody think about that? I'm just rattling this stuff off, guys. Chime in if you think I'm out to lunch somewhere. Because I just read this completely as a layperson, having never read it before, and then I started thinking, I wonder what that means, Whether I could be from the Wadoga Police Department, or whether I have to be from the Los Angeles Fire Department, you know, or the Bloomington Fire Department, for that matter. Okay, well, if that's the intent of any department, sounds good to me.
Well, should I add that language? Because the motion will then be,
As amended?
as amended, right?
And that would allow us to still adopt it.
Yeah, we'll adopt it tonight and I'll just make those changes. We will have adopted this set as amended tonight, right? So any amendments, so we have to, I'm gonna add of any department to G. So your motion is going to be to adopt these rules as amended.
Okay.
The reason I waited to bring all this up, I felt by Robert's rules, we needed to get it on the floor first before we started talking about it.
Right,
Okay,
that's how I'm doing it.
Good.
It's on the floor right now.
great.
And so we're discussing, and now, so technically, the motion will have to be restated and, right? So can I get a motion to adopt these rules as amended? So moved, seconded. Any more discussion? Hearing none, right? That'll be the
Do we want to wait till all the,
procedure.
if there are any
We'll
other?
go through all the
Okay.
amendments first, okay, if there are any others.
Let's see. I was looking at H, and I think that H is good because it gives us maximum flexibility. There's no, we're not specifying what kind of things we're looking for in a social media account. We're not specifying
Yeah,
the
you
depth
could-
of criminal history.
We can't begin to start,
So we've got plenty of flexibility
Yeah.
there. Good. Okay,
yeah,
then let's,
and social media changes so much. that
Absolutely.
To try and explain it and express it in any kind of terms. I think
Yeah.
Social media accounts captures, pretty much anything that we might generically consider as social media.
yeah, and then that's a great thing because that can change over time. You know, what could be a standard that we would accept today, we might not in a year.
Yeah.
But of course, we have to be careful with that too. So that's good. And then my next thing was in section 2, subsection A3.
Score received by the member on the assessment center.
What is the assessment center? I don't know what the assessment center is.
So that will vary depending on the promotion being sought after, but it's essentially a course that evaluates your skill set as it correlates to that position. So a driver, the assessment center would have to do with pump operations, maps, driving. An officer would be command situations, personnel issues, admin things. So it's basically running them through scenarios and seeing how they perform competitively with a point system and evaluators.
So really then the assessment center is specific to the position.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, that helps me understand. That's good. Okay, then, maybe I missed it, but I don't know if I got Exhibit A. Was it attached someplace? It mentions Exhibit A in Section B there.
Oh, we did not provide you with Exhibit A, the promotional guide.
I can.
We can.
Yeah, we can get it right now.
No, that's fine. I just thought, gee, Kirk, did you delete that email or?
You didn't miss anything.
Okay, good.
I think I did.
So it's the promo guide, okay.
And that's meant to be a live document. I think the fear was if we were to permanently attach it to this, then as it modifies to, be custom for the department as best fit, we would like you to have access to the live document so you can see the current version of it and not a previous one.
Yeah, so we talk about that promotional guide, as that guide is modified from time to time, and then we attach the most current version.
Okay. So the assessment, the promotional guide is that a tool that helps department members understand how to get promoted?
Exactly. It shows what's required of each rank, each appointment, time in service, what the
State
promotion-
certifications are, that are required.
Great. Okay, next is in E there, Chris.
Yeah.
E, that, it looks like the sentence didn't get completed after however in my version. However,
right.
only those member.
Yeah. Typo. Boy, I wish you'd have pointed that out to me.
I'm sorry, as I looked through all this, I thought, oh God, I don't want to put all this in an email. I thought maybe may have been a colon there, but then I thought, oh no, there's probably a little more to that.
All right, hold on a second. Let me see if a previous version had the whole thing there.
Could have.
Let's see what the first version said. Section 2. E. Right? Which section? I'm
Yeah,
sorry, Section
2E, 2E, yeah, the first paragraph. Written competitive examination.
Before a written competitive examination may be held to fill a current or expected vacancy in the ranks, the member eligible to take the examination.
No, it's right before that, Chris. That's
noted.
subsection
Okay.
1, so it's right here.
Yeah, that preamble's not in the first version, so I added it. Any member who qualifies in length of service and rank may take a written competitive examination administered by the department. However, only those Max,
Chief Litman's looking right
I'm
now.
trying to look and see in our notes.
what were we trying to get to there?
Jogging your memory at all?
No,
Our sentence
I'm
was
gonna
in.
have to.
Where are we looking on E?
We are in that preamble. There's a little preamble right after competitive examination and before the number 1.
So it's E, just before 1, E where it says written competitive exam. And then,
Because the very first one you sent out didn't have anything under the, you're
Right.
saying that's what you added?
Yeah,
Okay.
we added
I
some
was looking
language.
for an older version that might have it, but that one didn't have anything, so.
Yeah.
there's gotta be a reason there, because there was a however you wanted to put
Yeah.
in. Yeah.
And I must have gotten a phone call or moved away from it, came back after lunch or something.
Utilities called you.
Right, yeah. So, I never got back to finishing the thought.
I don't have a comment attached to that portion of it. The next comment is a little bit further down.
Let me see if there's anything in that big email chain that we had.
I should have found that much sooner. Sorry about
No,
that.
that's okay. I'm glad you caught it. I'm not sure what we were trying to say there.
Well, we can always,
Something that you brought up, Max, I remember you had a concern with,
Let's see.
you had a concern about the ability to take the examination. There was some limiting factor you wanted to talk about. But I can't for the life of me remember what it was now. It doesn't trigger anything.
Maybe it has something to do with people who have taken it before, or somebody that is actually qualified to take it, or has time and grade, or something like that. I'm just guessing.
Standard, I'm trying to think, 'cause I had that big email thread that with the three of us. had
Maybe,
going.
was it, however, only those members that possess the required promotional items may
Requirements,
take,
yeah.
I think that was it. Only those members that possess the required promotional,
Meet the requirements made to take the written exam.
yeah, so it's not just time and rank and service, you also have to have the promotional guide elements to be able to take the written test. I believe that was it.
Or did we put, or the ability to get?
Well, so that would allow some flexibility, because right now it states that all you have to have is the proper length of service and rank, but clearly you would need to have the promotional requirements beyond that to be able to take it. So we could state it as currently possess or have the ability to possess if we wanted to allow some flexibility. And the concept there is if the department has a significant need for a position, and we're somewhat in this boat now, but we're handling it okay. Say, for example, you have many very new people, and they're willing and able to get the certifications to get the promotions, they just haven't had ample time yet. But we have a need today to fill them. Sometimes you can have some leeway where, as long as they look like they're ready for the spot, they can get the certification that's missing within a year or something like that. So the language here could potentially allow for something like that, depending on how we worded it.
That makes sense.
I mean, open to opinions as well. Anyone has thoughts on it?
So,
I just need some good language to put in there that
Okay.
encapsulates what you're trying to say there. However, only those members that possess
The required, what was,
required promotion requirements, or have the ability to,
Within a,
however, only those members that possess the promotional requirements or have the ability to obtain them within a predetermined period may take the written examination.
And then it becomes a question of how much time you're gonna give them.
Well, could that be left? I don't know, would that be appropriate to leave flexible? Because we wouldn't offer it if there wasn't a need to, but if there,
I don't like the idea of just kind of leaving it up to chance.
how about not to exceed one, possess the current promotional requirements or have the ability to obtain them in a period
I
within
think
1
I'll say
year.
this, however, only those members that possess the promotional requirements are within 1 year of their promotion? No, because that's just to take the exam.
yeah,
Within 1 year of taking the exam?
Also, we don't want to leave it so open-ended that then we have to take candidates that don't possess the certifications
Yeah.
yet.
yeah.
Why don't we just leave it as they have to have it, and if it creates an issue, we can reapproach this at a future meeting and amend it.
And amend, yeah, going forward,
I think that's
if that's
safer,
the need,
because
yeah,
we're kind of on the fly at the moment.
yeah.
So, however, only those members that possess the promotional requirements may take the exam. Is that the proper terminology?
Yes.
Yeah, that'd work.
May take the examination. All right, so, however, only those members is where it ends, right? And it just says member. However, so I'll amend member. However, only those members that possess the promotional requirements may take the examination. So that'll be the second amendment. And that's E. That's E.
Yeah.
2G and 2E.
No, it's-
1G and 2E. Sorry.
yeah. And next there in subsection, let's see, section 3,
E3?
yeah, E3. I wondered, the department will notify each member in writing the score that the member received. Score received by a member of the written exam becomes part of the permanent file of the member, and the member is entitled to access his file for examination. Is there any benefit, one way or the other, I guess my question is, are the grade results posted for everybody to
No.
see?
No,
Okay.
everyone does not get access to everyone else's grade. It is only the individual. As it stands right now, they're taking an online exam, and the person can hit submit, get their score, and it shows up on the, Proctor's
Okay.
website. So limited people have access to that.
And then they send it to you.
They make it a sheet that they can put into their record. So
Oh,
it'd be a
I
big
see.
score sheet, right? So it'll be your test score is this, your assessment center score is this. That ultimate master grade sheet is what goes in their permanent file. Does
That
make
gets sent
sense?
to you by the vendor.
No, the internal promotional stuff, this is what we do internally. The only one that we have a
Okay.
third-party vendor for is this, the CPAC can be anywhere, but is the initial hiring test.
Okay.
Everything else has been done internally.
So then, do we have like a roster of who's up next
We have
on
a
the
list.
promotion list?
Yes,
Okay,
that's what we like to create.
that's good.
Yeah, so if it's a competitive position, there'll be those that fill the immediate need, followed by the ranking of those that didn't. And as long as they pass, then they're eligible to promote within X amount of time from that list as the need arises.
They're not ranked in any order.
They are ranked. Based on their performance, yeah.
So in a way, it's the cumulative score that they've got, and that's what gets posted on all of the stuff. That's the rank order that the promotion list is,
The cumulative score, yes, what determines the rank on the list.
and that's public.
Public within the department, internally, we don't post it on the bulletin board outside or anything, but all the candidates are aware where they rank because the chief makes the notifications. You've passed this and you are second on the list, or you're fourth on the list, or, you know.
I think I see where you're going. Yeah, so their ranking on the list, that is known. Their actual scores or how they perform to get to that rank, that is what's sealed. So if they want to go and review and see how they can perform better or see how they perform well, they can do that individually, but not of other people.
And the reason I went down this path is, it's never good when, and it's great that we're at a really professional way we're doing things these days. But if we weren't, or if there was any hint of favoritism, or somebody gets skipped over, then that hurts morale. But when everybody knows where everybody stands, and we're using a systematic approach, that keeps morale high and trust high in the department. Good, okay.
I will add that Chief Kerr has also made it mandatory for a lot of the promotion process to be finished, is the individual needs to come in and look at their file, along with, like, I think it's with Chief Zeeks or Chief Drescher, that they have to sit down and they can go through the evaluator's notes. How can I do better next time? You did a great job on your interview, you needed work on this, or different things to consider too. Even if you're number one, we can always do better. There's always room for improvement.
It gives them the opportunity to make sure everything's accurate.
Yes.
That as well.
Mm-hmm.
So if they don't review that, they're wrong. I learned that in the Army.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sometimes personnel section makes mistakes. All right, that's good. Chris, just a side question is, with all the ability of people to submit a records request, or we can keep
Subject
lot
to
of-
confidentiality records requests are,
we can keep that.
right.
Yeah, Because it's an HR thing.
Everything filters through legal confidentialities, one of which is personnel records on various things, including all of this.
Because I could see somebody that felt wronged filing an open records request, but this would be protected.
Yeah, now in a lawsuit, probably not.
That's a subpoena. It's
Right,
different.
there'd be different court orders and whatnot, but just for basic public records requests, this stuff will fall under a category of confidentiality,
Good.
non-disclosure.
Great. Okay. In next section then is G1. On performance evaluations, do we have a standard form for that?
Yes.
Great. It'd be good for us to see that.
Okay.
I think
one right now.
I'd like to see it. Yeah, so that would help me understand how they get to us on a promotion list. And the good part about a standard form is, it is standardized. And that's
Everyone's gonna
good.
get run through the same filter.
Yeah, the performance evaluations are, thank you.
You want one as well?
No, that's okay.
And we do these
At least once every 6 months is
it's
what's required.
every 6 months. Do you think that's too much?
It's merit board requirements, I believe, statutory.
State?
So,
Yeah.
yes.
That is a statutory standard.
Oh, man. That's a lot.
We can lobby for changes up there, we can't control.
I mean, think about most positions.
Once a year feels like too much.
Once a year, I mean, think of the administrative burden this puts on.
Agreed, and I think it lessens the potential positive impact it could have if you do them too often, because then people aren't going to put forth the full effort
Yeah.
into doing them. But at this point, we need to at least have it in there because it's a requirement.
Okay. And then we have the rating guide. Needs improvement, meets standards, above standards. That's great. So then, there's the employee name, the date of the evaluation, and then supervisor and reviewer, or is it all the same?
It could be either or.
Okay. Is there, so their direct supervisor fills this out? Is there well, there's supervisor comments. And this is prescribed by the state, or do we have any ability?
This is an internal document, so.
So we could adjust it?
That's just what we're going with now. And we've been using this for probationary firefighters for eight years, and for a new firefighter to get off probation, their assigned officer would fill it out, and their battalion chief would also fill it out in reference to the firefighter before they would get off probation after their 1 year of hire.
So the supervisor and battalion chief do separate ones?
Yes, it's the same form, but they see that firefighter differently, so.
Right.
in
That was
different
going to
roles.
be my question. Because I saw the supervisor thing, and I'm used to a performance evaluation. The supervisor fills out, and then there's another section for a senior rater, or the next level up. And usually that person looks at it from a more strategic point of view, saying things like, this employee, this firefighter is capable of, in the career path, to be able to do this and this, should look to the next level or whatever, or should remain in current position for the next couple of years or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's done two different forms.
It's the same form, but how the supervisor sees that firefighter is different. Does that make sense?
Yep.
I know what I'm
Great.
trying to say, just trying to.
Okay. kind of an off-the-topic question. I think in state government, this goes back to county, if a sheriff, an elected sheriff, loses an election, because they can only be sheriff for 8 years consecutively, they have to be reinstated at the department, I think at the level of a sergeant, if I'm not mistaken, and it used to be that way at least. So the little off the topic question is, if a fire chief has to leave due to a change of administration, do we take the fire chief back at some level?
Yeah.
It
Depends
is,
if they're sworn.
yes, and it's in our rules and regs.
So if they're a sworn member that promoted up through the ranks, the answer is yes, they have to be given the spot. If they're a civilian chief, then their role is complete.
I see. That's good.
And that's also in the statutes, it expresses how that happens with regards to fire chief being removed from that position as fire chief. They go back to their highest, most recent rank.
Highest, most recent rank. Okay. If sworn. And I understand the
You wouldn't
difference.
have a rank if you were a civilian chief.
You guys know the difference in all that? What happens, a mayor could appoint his long-lost uncle to be the fire chief with no qualifications.
Have we had a civilian chief here in the last?
Yes.
Currently we do, and the last one was also civilian. The current one's a little bit unique in that he was sworn and then converted to civilian when he took the chief spot. So he technically retired as a sworn firefighter and then was appointed as a civilian chief. But technically he's a civilian chief as well, Chief Kerr is.
Chief Curtis?
Yeah.
And it was Chief Moore?
Chief Moore
before
was
that?
civilian.
Okay.
Chief Kerr's first stint, he was sworn.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I bring that up because I think it's a fair thing for a fire chief who's a sworn firefighter, just because the political winds change, shouldn't have to be on the street.
Agreed.
So I think that's a good thing. So you say that's someplace else in our rules and regs? We don't need to deal with that, with this in here any place.
It's built within the statute, and I don't know that it's reflected in here. But-
Should it be?
But we have to follow the statute whether we
Okay.
like it or not.
It's not one of those things we'd have to vote on anyway.
It's a pretty rare instance where the fire chief's gonna get removed, and I don't even believe the merit commission has a role in the fire chief being removed,
Mayor would.
you know?
The
And
ma-
so,
but a
but
change of-
in the statutes, it talks about what happens if the fire chief is removed and he's a sworn officer, a
Good,
sworn member.
because mayors change.
I'm saying this right, aren't I?
Yeah, same,
Yeah,
chief and deputy chief.
yeah, deputy's in the same position.
Oh, good,
Yeah,
good. Takes care of you folks too, huh?
correct.
Okay, good.
Chief Woodland's doing an amazing job, so
Oh.
there's. Yes, he's my boss.
All right.
You just went on record to say that.
I did. He's my boss and he's doing an amazing job.
Thank you, Chief.
I will say it again.
In section 3, subsection B,
Yes,
under suspension,
okay.
down there in the second or third sentence, in addition, the unit, territory, or district. Well, can't we just say,
Yeah, that's,
Can we
that
just
should be
say-
amended to,
say city or?
department.
Department, okay.
yeah, you are right. You see where that is? Eric, see that, Jeff?
Under. Right here. Where
The
it says-
statute-
It says, in addition to the unit, territory, district,
Yeah.
it'll just read the department.
Yeah, the statute always goes through that litany, I just didn't catch it that time, I didn't clean it out. I think I caught it, hopefully everywhere else.
Okay, then in the next page, then page 10, section D, talks about a hearing officer, or designate, let's see, parties may agree to designate a hearing officer qualified. So in this section, does the hearing officer make a final decision?
Goodness.
Because I just wasn't, it kind of insinuates that it does. There's a hearing conducted, but it doesn't really say, makes a binding decision, I don't think.
I think that might be the investigator. The hearing officer might be the one who is actually
Like a
gets to
mediator?
run it, yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out, I understand you'd want to have an investigation, and then, a hearing shall be conducted upon the request of the member. So,
Well, so this is deciding who the trier of fact is going to be.
yeah,
Okay, sorry, I had to read through it again. And only if the parties agree will they be able to designate a hearing officer to conduct the hearing. Okay? And so, yes, if the parties agree to have a hearing officer do this, it takes it out of the hands of the commission. And the hearing is conducted by that hearing officer who is qualified by education, training, and experience. I don't know what that means, but they'll have to decide if the person's qualified to do the job. So then, all of the procedure for the hearing is followed, and the trier of fact is the hearing officer who makes the final decision.
okay.
Okay? If the parties don't agree within the 5-day period to get that designated hearing officer, then the commission can be the trier of fact. Okay? So the commission can hold the hearing. Or they can they can designate a person, which in other words is another way to get a hearing officer appointed, right? So if the parties don't agree to a hearing officer, the commission can designate a hearing officer, or they can say, let the Board of Public Safety do it. But the intent ultimately is for the commission, I think, to be the body that does this. It doesn't come out and say that, but that's why this merit commission was created in the first place. This is weird, I'll admit it, but it gives a lot of flexibility to who's going to be that trier of fact. It could be a hearing officer, it could be the commission, but if the commission for some reason would prefer, they can designate somebody else to do it, or appoint or designate the Board of Public Safety to do it. Because the Board of Public Safety is still in business.
This gives us a subpoena authority, doesn't it? More or less, as we go on.
Yeah. As you
Yeah.
go down, you see the trier of fact has subpoena power through the commission, which is using subpoena power through the courts.
And then the person may appeal.
Correct.
There's that.
You know?
And then if they don't like our decision, they can appeal to the circuit court.
That's right.
That's the final sayer here. That's kind of odd, isn't it? But, yeah, I thought that was interesting. Okay, next then is in section M, subsection 1, under summary disciplinary action. And I just need a clarification here because I'm trying to figure this out in my mind. In addition to the disciplinary powers of the commission, the chief may, without a hearing, reprimand or suspend a member without pay for a maximum of 5 working days. For purposes of this subsection, 8 hours of paid time constitutes 1 working day. So the way I figure that is, that's a shift and a half.
Essentially, yeah, 40 hours doesn't align really with our schedule. So likely, if that were to be implemented, it would probably be 36 hours for a shift and a half.
That's really weird.
Yeah, I think.
You'd have to leave halfway through a second shift.
Well, half shifts are common for us. People will take 12 hours off.
Okay.
It's pretty routine. So this would actually align well with our schedule. Should we make it 36 hours? If we were to suspend them for 40 hours, that would be very weird for us because then then we're really like partway through a shift. We're not halfway through. It's really easy to fill half shifts. We do AMs and PMs.
Okay.
But yeah, a 40-hour would be much more difficult to accommodate on the roster. So you're right. It would likely be a 36-hour.
Yeah, because when you first read that, you think, well, 5 working days, but then it defines a working day as 8 hours.
Mm-hmm.
But for you guys, a working day is 24 hours.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I assume the language from the statute was probably something standard, and then they defined it a little more for us to mean working days in this case is truly 40 hours, in which case we would probably exercise it in something that made a little more sense.
Great. Well, that's a good thing. I wanted to make sure we had both eyes open on that, because it could be confusing.
Yeah, it's the same language on the other side with Board of Public Safety, so we on this side of the table are familiar with that
Great.
odd calculation.
And I think that's a good section because, you know, we all know that bad things can happen, and a chief needs that kind of authority to demonstrate to the public that we're taking something seriously.
Yeah, and in those instances, all the chief has to do is give a written notice of the fact that it happened to the commission. But a member who has been reprimanded does still have recourse. They can ask for a review. It's not quite a hearing like we would do for discipline that comes to the merit commission, but there's still an opportunity to review.
Okay, good. And then in section N, who's our medical director?
Dr. Corinna Repetto.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Great.
She's with IU Health.
So is she a city employee then, or do we?
No,
So she does it,
position through IU Health, so.
so we don't compensate her for that? It's volunteer, or?
I believe the medical director is, I guess that would all be compensated via IU Health, right? But they act.
You guys have that arranged.
Well, before, the ambulance service was a budgetary thing, the ambulance service was taking care of that, but since Lifeline and IU Health have gone that, we are now under IU Health, not the ambulance service for medical direction. It is actually the supervising hospital, so it is IU Health, so this is likely how they're putting out as a community outreach or something along those lines, but I do not have that.
I'd be curious to know how we have that arranged.
It's important.
Because I don't know, and I think I'd like to have that answer.
Okay. Sure. We'll certainly ask.
Because it seems like, well, I'm not gonna say anything on the record. I don't know how that is
Let's learn and discuss later.
arranged, and we can provide that information to you later.
Well, it gives this person
Well,
some
they have
significant authority.
They've got, well, and rightfully so, because you have EMTs
Right.
who are doing work under their direction, and if they think that the EMT is screwing up, they should have the authority to do something about it. And so that's what this whole section is, and again, it's a regurgitation, basically, of the statutory language that exists.
And it also exists in our medical protocols as well.
It'd be interesting to know whether there is some sort of contractual arrangement between the city
I'd
and
like to
IU
know how that
Health.
works, so I don't have any answer for you at this point.
Because I could see where someone who was suspended could question the kind of legal standing that the medical director has with their ability to perform their job.
They have review, they have appeal/review rights.
The state has an EMS commission, which a lot of times the complaints go up through that as well, so, and they also have the disciplinary powers as well, so they can revoke, suspend, as they see fit.
Yeah, we're not gonna, on this side of the house, do anything with regards to their EMT certification. But if they have issues with their EMT certification that put their job in jeopardy, it's going to end up being an issue on our side of the house as well.
Right. How does our department get, figure out who the supervising hospital is? Does the state do that?
Well, no, they sign off. Every 2 years, we do a certification, recertification process. The BFD is a non-transport BLS provider for the state. So every 2 years, we send the protocols. We have paperwork signed by the ambulance service as the transport, the Dr. Repetto as the medical director, and we sent, like I said, a copy of the protocols, our roster at the time, and we have to send that 30 to 60 days in advance of the expiration, and we display that certificate.
Yeah.
It's in here.
Can we pick a different hospital?
You could, but again, it's permissions, protocols and whatnot have to be provided through if we were to do that. So right now, Dr. Repetto takes care of all the fire departments within Monroe County. I'm not sure of Monroe simply because they have their own ambulance. So, but she has been taking care of Bedford area, Greene County, Monroe County, so several counties in this area. She's been the medical director for quite some time.
So then in subsection B there, the medical director may terminate a member's EMT certification. So is that their state certification, or is that their certification for being able to do it for us?
Their state
Yeah,
certification.
it's got nothing to do with working here.
Wow.
And they would send, and she would, let's say, theoretically, she would send that, and she would send that up through their chain, up through the EMS medical commission as well. So it would be a state censure type.
Revocation of a person's certification would happen through the commission. It's got nothing to do with us.
The member will no longer be permitted to operate in the department as a frontline firefighter. So are all of our firefighters EMT certified?
All but 7.
Pardon?
They're emergency medical responders. They are grandfathered in because they've been here for quite some time. So, but every new firefighter since 2002 has become an EMT. And is required before they are released from probation and by their 1 year.
Since 2002, they have to take the class?
Pardon me?
Since 2002, they have to start taking the class?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they can either come in with the EMT, or if they do not have that, we send candidates through.
Great, okay. Under 4, section 4, miscellaneous retirement age,
Nope. Okay.
member shall retire from the department when the member reaches
The member.
70th birthday. How do we land on that date?
I
Is that state?
think that's state,
I believe it's
and
state.
it's part of perf or something, or I forget. It's sprinkled about in different places for firefighters.
It wasn't an eternally set number.
Yeah.
Not us, somebody else? Okay.
Yeah.
And then subsection 4, member may be informed by the department of the member's reinstatement. So this is back if there was a RIF. So if we're going to reinstate people by written notice, the notice shall specify the date and time in which the department requires the member to report for duty. Within 10 calendar days after a member receives notice of reinstatement, the member must advise the department that the member accepts reinstatement and will be able to commence employment on the date specified in the notice. All reinstatement rights granted to a member terminate upon the member's failure to accept reinstatement, within the specified period. My question there is, can we, let's say we ripped somebody and they go get a job someplace else. Can we make sure that we give them 14 calendar days to, in other words, a 2-week notice to whomever they went to work for?
I believe that this is just a notice saying that they have 10 days to respond. I don't think anybody reasonably would expect them.
We can't give them less than 10 days. We have to give them at least 10 days.
But it
So
says,
that they've got those 10 days to let us know that they're actually able to do so.
but it says they,
What Kurt's saying is, can we put in here that we're gonna give at least a 14-day window so that they can give a commensurate 2-week notice to quit?
I can't see where we would demand a answer and a report for duty on day 10. It's just rude, but
Yeah.
maybe we should specify.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be wrong to amend with that.
Yeah.
So the notice itself has 10 days to respond, but the date of reporting for duty cannot be less than 14 days from the issuance of the notice.
that's where I was
Yeah.
headed. Max.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I like that.
Yeah,
Because, you know, you guys are running this the right way, but there could be a time,
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
no,
and
Change that.
I think that'd be great.
so that'd be an amendment as well, so you have 14 days. So we have 4 right now, 4 amendments as I'm keeping track, is that correct?
Right.
Okay.
Correct. We must advise the department that the member accepts reinstatement will be able to commence employment. Well, you could just add to that, Chris, on the date specified in the notice, which, you know, will be at least 14 calendar days.
Or no less than.
Yeah, no less than 14 calendar days. And that's all I saw in all this.
It's a good thing you saw that.
Well, you know, you just read it from, I guess a lot of this is, you know, I've had to deal with all kinds of issues in the Army, and that's why the Army's book's like that, that thick, of all the things that can go wrong. This is much easier.
How I'm going to change 4B4, I'm going to add another sentence after the second sentence. So that second sentence reads, "The notice shall specify the date and time in which the department requires the member to report for duty." The date, and then this is the new sentence, "The date to report shall be no less than 14 days
From the date of notice.
from the date of notice."
Great.
How's that sound?
I like it, yeah. It's good to me.
No, it's a good
So-
catch.
I think either Jeff needs to withdraw his motion, or we should vote on Jeff's motion, and if it fails, entertain a new motion to adopt
amendments.
the report, the rules as amended.
Okay.
And I don't care how you would like to arrive at it. If you feel adamant that you'd like to try and have the rules adopted without amendment, we can carry on. If you'd like to withdraw
That'd be the cleanest way.
your motion, then we could have a new motion put on the table as amended.
I'll withdraw my motion.
I'll draw my second.
Perfect. All right.
And then we can have a new motion to approve these as amended.
Yes.
So can I get a motion to approve the Fire Merit Commission rules and procedures as amended on today's date? Can I get a motion to accept that?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes.
Very good.
Good work.
That is good work.
I think I need to read this more critically.
Then is there, then go on to new business if there's new business?
there is any,
No new, any
Any
new
new
business?
business?
Staff reports?
Anybody have any reports to give?
This is where we would talk about our upcoming schedule, what you want to do in June. As it stands right now, we have 2 known lateral candidates. We are doing some due diligence and making sure that those who have claimed firefighter certifications are not working elsewhere that might also qualify as a lateral. So, but we're only hiring 2. So we're looking at interview. How do you want to proceed in June? Do you want to interview and I guess bless them to go forward in the process in the June meeting, approve them? Or would you like to interview one meeting and do the next? We had a total of 29 candidates who passed the interview and the test. I do not think, correct me if I'm wrong, I would not think you'd want to interview 29 candidates for a list all in one evening. We've kind of been speculating at getting you 2 for the spots that we have in September, and then setting a date later for our ongoing hire list of 15 or so. Then the remainder of the candidates would be on standby.
So the first interview would be in September.
They would be for the September hires. So what I want to know is, do you want to interview people in June, or do you want to interview and just do the 2 and then set a date for 15 interviews at another date? Or would you rather do 17 in one evening?
So basically, the first 2 fill an immediate need for 2 vacancies. So you would interview them, approve them for hire, they're good. Then the next set of
Everything else is
interviews,
Next year?
it'd be
Yes.
for a conditional approval. So basically, you give them the thumbs up as long as they complete. There's a vacancy and they complete the remaining steps. Then you don't have to interview them again and approve them again.
Right. And that list is what we would go, is what the merit is. It's good for 2 years. So,
So we could interview the 2 that you're thinking of in June, and then do 2 other groups in
do another group.
July or August, September, or whatever.
Yeah, and that group would be a significant, 15 or so that we would have for that, because I do know that at least one of those on the list is already on another fire department's hiring list as well. So by the time we're ready to hire in late winter, early spring, some of those candidates will likely have found employment elsewhere. So I hope not. I hope they would like to just stay with us, but I want to be realistic. So that's, and we have 5 questions for you prepared and vetted by HR, so you just need to interview, and your interviews pass fail, so, as it stands. So just let us know how you would like to
I'm good
move
with
forward.
doing the 2 at the next June meeting, if Kirk and Jeff are, or
Yeah.
whoever else needs to approve that. You, Chris, I guess.
I don't approve anything.
In the event that we do find another lateral that meets that, there's, I would also put them forward as well.
And these 2, when you say lateral, they're already somewhere else, and
They're
they
in the
just need.
77 plan, they're per plan, they're ready to go. I am just, when somebody has claimed firefighter certifications, I just want to make sure that they are not in a fire department that's also a perf department that, I don't know where everyone's at, right? I know where Linton and Speedway and Bedford and Columbus and all these other ones are. I know that they're in the perf, but I don't know where Midland and So I don't know where everyone is, so I don't know if they're.
So we make a do we need a motion to do that, or we're just?
I don't know, I think if we put it on the agenda, the interviews
I don't
for
think we need a
candidates.
motion for it.
Okay.
We just need to know that that's gonna be an executive session that happens in June.
Mhm.
So there'll be an executive session that will occur, I would presume, about an hour before the regular meeting would take place.
Okay.
If we need a regular meeting, what,
That might be the only thing that you need to do,
Yeah,
but we
we'll
would have
figure-
a regular meeting to.
yeah, we'll figure the process out, because this is all so very new for us.
Yeah.
And advise you, but at the very least, there's an executive session, and I expect that immediately following that will be a regular meeting that approves the candidate for the lateral positions.
That'd be perfect.
Yeah,
And this would be the next
And
scheduled
that'll be
meeting,
in
June
the next-
24th.
correct.
Is there a stipulation on?
When you do Can you zoom from the road?
These are enacted in 30 days, once we.
Does that matter as far as, the next meeting be 28 days?
Yeah.
because you're taking off, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, we can change the date,
He has a
yeah.
question on the timing, 30 days and 28 days till the meeting.
These need to be in effect for 30 days prior to utilizing them. Is there a 30-day,
Oh,
and the meeting's 28 days from
you know
now?
what? I thank you.
It's
The
something we talked about.
Yeah.
rules have been adopted. They need to get posted, and 30 days from today, they take effect, which means we cannot start doing hiring until after the 27th of June.
So,
We could bump it back a week,
or do we just put it to the Board of Public
July.
Safety for June?
or to July,
Yeah,
whatever's easiest. In which
that
case,
still gives us time.
yeah, in which case we wouldn't even need the June meeting, I don't think. And we can figure that out later.
And you said you're leaving for vacation, or you're out of town?
I'm retired.
Yes.
I have a summer home in northern Michigan.
Sweet.
It is, but it's not convenient for this, because I'm gone July, August, last week in June, first week in September, so 2.5 months.
You can Zoom
I can Zoom.
But Nicole has to be here then,
Yeah.
and we need
So
her
we
fifth.
would need 3 physical, yeah, as long as the other 3 are physically present, you can attend by Zoom and be considered present for all voting and
Yeah.
everything necessary. What we can't do is have you Zoom in and be counted towards a quorum, because you need to have 3, because we only have 4 members right now. We're supposed to have 5. 3 makes a quorum, and then you can only make a quorum by those who are physically present. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
If Tuesday is a good day of the week for everyone, could we just move it to the next week, then we would avoid your schedule conflict and we
But
still.
you're out. Yeah.
Oh, you're out. Oh, okay, I see, sorry.
Well, it won't be an issue if Nicole can attend.
We leave sometime that first week of July for a vacation, for a baseball trip. But it may not be till, because the first is the next Tuesday, correct?
Tuesday, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think we leave till the second, so I can do the first.
I mean, we don't have to go that route, I was just,
I'm good for the first as well.
throw something out easier.
Sooner the better, right?
Sure.
To get that.
Well, we gotta wait 30 days.
Yeah, I mean, after the 30 days,
Yeah.
the sooner we can do it, the better. Yeah, the first should be fine for me.
If she cannot attend, Chris, do you want to consider using the Board of Public Safety one more time for these 2? I did say in the last meeting it could be potentially, because depending on the rule, so.
We have that option
Yeah.
until these rules are in effect. This board is unable to operate, and so therefore believe that the Board of Public Safety still maintains jurisdiction over these.
In the
Efforts.
event that we
It's a good
would
point.
not be able to do it on the 1st,
Yeah.
we'd have time before the agenda gets posted. So we just need to find.
And then back it up, the last part of that week before, because we would have, our rules would have been in place for 30 days by then.
By the 26th?
The 26th will be the date that they become effective, so we could meet on the 26th or 27th
Of June.
of June, or even June 30th. If we're looking at a June date.
We have utilities on the 30th.
We do, don't we?
Well, we've got some options there. I guess we should ask Nicole.
Those all work, from my standpoint, other than the 30th, the 26th or 27th will work. But I don't have to be here. Chief Kerr will be here then, you'll be here, so that doesn't necessarily matter.
Do we know if we're any closer to a fifth member yet?
I don't, sorry. I don't mean to laugh, but
Which-
no, I don't.
Whose appointment is
What was
it?
that?
Mayor, are we any closer to the fifth
So
member?
I'm going to update the rules tomorrow morning, get them to you so that you can furnish copies to all department members.
Yeah, we'll put it on our learning management system and make a requirement, all must read and acknowledge, so,
That
yep.
way, there's no question about the fact that they can be furnished, and we won't even monkey with the
Right.
concern, because otherwise, they don't take effect until copies are furnished to all the members.
Right.
And so I just want to make sure you get that done.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so I'm giving you as much time as possible to have that happen. So you'll get the adopted rules tomorrow, and they take effect 30 days after today.
Or would it be tomorrow?
No, 30 days
past-
from today. They
From
took
today.
effect today when we adopted them.
Okay,
I'm sorry, they were adopted today at this meeting. They take effect 30 days from today.
okay.
Words.
All right, I read it as 30 days past, all of them had to be, no, I'm going with your words.
Count starting today.
Karen.
Not when we supply them to them.
Correct.
Okay.
Which is how I read it.
Yeah.
No, so if we weren't able to get copies to everybody, then they take effect. If the 30 days have expired and we still didn't get copies to everybody, they don't take effect until all members have received a copy. That's how that works.
Interesting.
We have 30 days to get them to everybody, which I'm sure we can do. All right. We will find out whether Nicole is available on one of those last days of June. And go from there.
Or July 1st.
Or July 1st, and we will advise the board members accordingly as to what to expect with regards to those two lateral positions.
And would we know that by the 10th or so that we could give
It's up to
advance
Nicole, I guess,
notice?
right? I
Okay,
don't know how we're gonna, we'll have to notify Nicole of our intentions and whether she thinks she's available for a executive session and special meeting
In person.
in person on one of those available days at the end of the month.
I just want to
July
give
1st.
candidates 2 weeks' notice to
Understood. So we'll try to
attend. Yeah.
reach out to her tomorrow. Won't we, Heather?
I'm here from 8 to noon tomorrow. Be happy to help.
We'll get rules updated. Back to you, Eric.
All right. Can I get a motion that we adjourn?
Well, did we do
Oh,
public comment?
sorry, public comments.
Not that there's any public
Sorry.
here, but.
Are there any public comments?
No,
Seeing none, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
All right, perfect. Meeting adjourned.